Hello there, Seamus.
Hi, Piers.
Oh, that was pretty enthusiastic.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm excited about another Is That So podcast.
Oh, wow.
But it's just me and Piers this time. No guest to muddy it all up. We've got pretty much the exact same opinions about everything. So just strap yourself in for an educational ride about.
The apocalypse.
Now we're talking about all sorts of scenarios today. We're talking about both extraterrestrial, terrestrial, man-made, non-man-made, everything. And then this is a part of a two-part series actually of apocalypse-related podcasts. This one is scenarios where the apocalypse can exist, and the next one is how to deal with a post-apocalypse society, how to rebuild it, how to put back infrastructure, and how to socially wrap everything together.
Tasty.
And I know you're sitting at home there and you just can't wait for us to talk, so we're just going to get diving into it. The first scenario I think to talk about is the tectonic plates. I think that's a big one, you know, like or volcanic activity, you know.
Well, I think before we even go on, I'd like to just say that it's obviously we look at apocalypse things in films a lot, you know, and they're usually quite successful, the films that have these situations. So it's clearly something that people think about, but it's not really something that people think about.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. So it's like it's good for entertainment value and it's good for scaring you if you're reading a book or watching a film or whatever. But people don't actually consider that just how delicate modern civilization is, really.
Yeah.
You know, the electricity grid goes down, we're screwed. You know, like
yeah, the internet goes down.
Some water desalination plant goes down, we're screwed. You know, anything like that, and it's all of it is so delicate. Because we haven't encountered any kind of major climactic event in the last 100 years, so our infrastructure just isn't built to handle it.
But also as humans, like, we just can't conceive, we can't think about it, like, for more than 5 minutes a day about how the world's going to end without just feeling suicidal, like, you know what I mean? Because there's so many scenarios, so many possibilities. It's too much for someone to concentrate on. So, like, people forget about it. Not going to worry about that because I can't, you know?
It also requires a lot of long-term thinking and long-term investment for not necessarily any return on that investment.
Yeah.
For, like, quite a while. So, and I think just the way the modern world is structured, it isn't really angled towards that, which isn't necessarily a bad thing for most situations, but in terms of this, it's pretty bad.
Yeah, it's like asking the government, all right, we're going to have to put in, you know, 1 billion euros worth of investment to keep our electricity grid, like, you know, stable. So if solar flares happen, it won't go down. And then you're like, no, you can't do that because we have to pay for healthcare. You know, people want short term like rewards rather than the long term preventions, which is understandable. You need healthcare.
Yeah, and even in terms of, so especially here in Western Europe, especially here in Ireland, we have very little investment in military. And so obviously you can see why that would be. The world is quite peaceable or whatever at the moment, and especially in Ireland, like what war are we going to go into? But think about it, if you have some kind of event where the energy grid goes down or anything along those lines, who's going to maintain order?
Yeah.
You know, if we have a tiny military, are they going to be able to hold it all together? That's the whole point of the military, I suppose, just to, not even for war necessarily, but just to be able to respond to massive national crises.
How would they spread all over the country, though? There'd be like splinter groups.
Yeah, I get. Well, you see, a lot of military equipment.
Monaghan's gone. That's
right. That's we've cut it off. We've surrendered it. Like a lot of military equipment would be hardened against EMP, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
You would hope.
Yeah.
You would hope.
Yeah. I mean, you don't need electrical equipment to shoot a gun. So
no. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And that's the thing. So the guards wouldn't exactly be able to restore order since we have unarmed police here in Ireland. You know.
Yeah. Exactly. There'd be riots in the street and they'd be asking us to please stop, like, please stop it. But say even in America, you know,
yeah,
I don't think the military would be able to restore order.
Or China, think about that,
yeah.
1 billion people. He's just trying to restore order there.
Yeah, but when you think about America, everybody has their own guns.
Oh yeah.
So localized governments would happen. Like it would go back to like tribal order society and stuff like that.
I guess they do have stuff like that though. Like I'm pretty sure each state has its own kind of national guard, that kind of thing.
Yeah. I suppose, but like why? Like you're like, oh, why would I listen to you? You know what I mean? Like when messages can't be really broadcast.
Whereas like in America, it'd be a bit of a different story because there's different parts. So for instance, obviously Texas would be quite hard to instill martial law upon, but you know, somewhere that's quite dense like California probably would be able to, because you could just, whatever military force is there could just seize the food supplies.
Yeah.
and the
Yeah,
water supplies,
I
you know, and then
suppose,
everybody
yeah.
just has to come there, and then, you know, you have tanks there, so people with rifles aren't exactly going to do much about it.
Yeah, I suppose. Well, in America, people could have RPGs.
They,
there.
yeah,
You know,
yeah. Good
they
point.
probably could do something.
Good
about
point.
it. We're getting that's kind of in the second episode kind of bit
But
as well.
yeah.
I
So
suppose it's worth mentioning though. It is like even the social thinking around the apocalypse is worth mentioning. Like you said.
yeah, it's because we've quite a I mean, even using the title, the apocalypse, right? We've quite a
We're all gonna die.
yeah, yeah. We've quite a childish view on the whole thing. You know, it as I was saying, it's almost like a plot line for movies, but it's not really a serious consideration. Whereas a comet or asteroid could easily just smash into us at any moment, and it's happened before.
Yeah.
It happened 100 years ago, and nobody knew about it because it was in the middle of Russia, in the middle of nowhere.
And will happen again. It's like we you know what it reminds me of? Like Earth for some reason has plot armor. Like it's like our Earth is our favorite character in the movie, so like no matter what
She's
happens
not getting
to
hit
it,
at the
it won't
moment.
get hit. Yeah, absolutely not. Like, do you think asteroids care? We're living like the world is just a rock, like surrounded happily by other rocks, and then like an asteroid belt that just swings around the entire solar system.
Comets that fly through.
Why wouldn't they? Like,
Yeah.
you know, it's the reason we don't think about it is because we don't want to have to think about it. So there we are.
Yeah. So anyway, let's start off on the various different scenarios that could happen.
Yeah, well, I mentioned the one there about the volcanic. I think that's a big one for me because you just look at how much turmoil it can cause. So, like Yellowstone, for instance. If Yellowstone National Park, is built on top of a huge volcano.
Well, yeah, basically, like that's in Montana, isn't it? I'm pretty sure 1/3 of the state of Montana is just a volcano.
If Yellowstone explodes, the entire northern hemisphere is Dunzo, Washington. Like, it's gone.
That's it.
It's gone. Like, forget about radio communications, electrical communications. Like, there was a cloud of ash in the sky that was just blown out all of the electrics, and we're just sitting there doing absolutely nothing. Like, it would be toxic as well.
Well,
no?
pretty much everybody in Northern America would be dead straight away.
Yeah.
You know, or within days. Yeah, it's all toxic as well. So it's not just the initial heat and the explosive force that kills you with a volcano.
Yeah.
There's so much. Obviously, the sunlight gets blocked out by the ash, but as you were saying, yeah, it's actually toxic as well. You breathe it in, it'll kill you.
Yeah, there was a valley there. I can't remember where it was. I think it was in South America, and they walked down, and it was just a load of dead livestock. What happened? No pyroclastic material, no like rocks or lava or anything. But what it had released was gas, and the gas was heavier than air, and it just like basically flown down like lava and just killed all these animals down at the bottom of the valley. And like, so when you think about volcanoes, you think about just getting hit by rocks and you have to run. No, you know, toxic gas will kill you too. And not only that, like the cloud in the sky will insulate the earth and like whatever hemisphere it is and just make it incredibly hot and hostile. You just die.
And then cool because sunlight doesn't get in.
Exactly. Yeah. You think about yeah, like a hot day or whatever. Like, yeah, exactly. I think that's a big one for me. Like, people just don't think about that, and especially Yellowstone as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Yellowstone is at the stage where you can't do anything about it. You can't siphon off any of the lava because it's gone too far. Otherwise, it would completely erupt. But people don't want to think about it.
Oh yeah, Yellowstone is going to blow. It's just a question of what'll happen now or in 200,000 years.
Hopefully,
Right?
200,000.
One would hope. But yeah, it's going to blow. I'd hate to wake up to that some morning. Jesus Christ, imagine.
Yeah, and like, there's constant eruptions. There's one in Guatemala that you went off.
Yeah, there's been a few this month actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it the one in Guatemala that killed people? 55 or something like that.
Killed a good few people. But you always have to remember, like, and it is constant. And then coupled with like the tectonic movement of the earth, constant earthquakes. California just built on a huge rift.
Yeah.
It would like that can destroy cities, big cities, and all their infrastructure at a whim. Like, you know, any kind of disruption in the Earth's mantle can really do some damage. And then I think that brings us on to the next one, which would be nukes.
Nuclear weapons.
That would definitely cause tectonic movement.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Well, it would definitely cause minor tremors. I suppose it depends how many
minor tremors.
Depends how many you're firing, but so the problem with nuclear weapons is, like there's a bit of myth about nuclear weapons. So one nuclear weapon isn't going to damage the entire world. There were so many detonated in tests in the 60s and 70s. It might slightly increase radiation levels.
Yeah.
But if you had
it depends which one.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
if you drop a SAR bomb.
Yeah, the
on
shockwave
New York,
traveled around 3 times.
Yeah,
Exactly. But so imagine. So I guess if it's the apocalypse, we're talking about a full scale nuclear war here. So that's honestly one of the most devastating ones I can probably think of, because it's so targeted, and because it would have at least two sides to it, and both sides would know exactly what they're targeting. So imagine, so Russia and America have, I think that, as it's just kind of the stereotypical saying goes, they each have enough, or they have enough weapons between them to end the world 10 times over. So whereas with, say, a volcano that's indiscriminate, it's just happening somewhere, it might not necessarily be beside a city. With a nuclear war, specifically cities and military bases will be targeted. So first of all of the infrastructure is gone, like intentionally targeted, gone, destroyed. Radiation levels massively increased, radioactive dust everywhere. So if you're not killed, you kind of hope to be killed in the initial blast, because you don't feel it then. You just melt, or you're just shattered,
disintegrated.
Yeah, you just don't exist anymore suddenly. But so all of the major cities are destroyed. It's towns and villages that are surviving. That's it. Then the radioactive dust starts falling. That's going to cause not just birth defects. It's going to start killing people straight away. First of all, because it'll be quite intense at the start. It'll any area around any major targets will be entirely unlivable for thousands of years, and then the birth defects will start happening after that, because the radioactivity will affect the fetus's genetics, that kind of thing. So you're going to have entire generations of people that are it's like very hard to get a viable child.
Yeah.
And even then, they might still have some stuff wrong with them. And you can just look at, some ex-Soviet states to look at where the Russians tested their weapons and see some of the birth defects, especially Kazakhstan.
Even Chernobyl stuff, massive birth defects.
It's horrendous.
A lot of typhoid cancer all around there. You know what I mean? Like,
it's not even just that though. It's like people have these weird conditions that you've never seen before. They might not develop a body part, or it's not like the movies where they become crazy mutants or whatever. But it's just like really sad, depressing things that entirely debilitating. It might be an organ that doesn't form properly and they can't breathe correctly now.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Really horrendous. I think this because of the radioactive element, this might be one of the most cruel possible end of the world scenarios. But so let's see.
I think it's one of the most real though.
Yeah. So it's one of the most possible.
Like the whole thing about mutually assured destruction. If you fire at someone else, they're going to fire back at you immediately. There's not going to be any dialogue.
Yeah. It'll take half an hour as well.
Take half an hour pretty much. Imagine the half an hour when you know you're going to die. Like, speakers come on, your phone gets taken over, a message comes up. Like it did in Hawaii. It was one where in Hawaii there recently a message came on the phone and said like an intercontinental ballistic missile is on your way. Say goodbye to your loved ones, whatever, seek shelter. And you're sitting there, you know you're going to die. What would that go? That's horrible.
Well, I have to say,
I'd rather not know.
The best reaction I saw to that was the guy who was playing golf, and he just said, "Well, I'm just going to keep playing golf."
I mean, he did right?
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah,
I wonder, did his game get better?
I'm sure he hit the best holes of his life.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
You can't hit best holes with shaky
you've
hands.
Nothing else left. There's no pressure on you for scoring. It's going to be fine. You're not worried about that at all now.
Oh yeah, all the inhibitions are gone.
Yeah,
like, don't need to beat my record because I'm gonna die.
So yeah, and anyway, and then so as we were saying earlier, like you would hope that in the event of some climactic event, that there be some kind of military forces left to try and hold society together. Obviously, in a nuclear war, that's not going to happen because all the military units will be targeted. Any massive military bases, the military is going to be gone. They aren't going to be able to hold together any kind of society. So all that's going to be left is people living outside of major metropolitan areas and like doomsday. Well, the doomsday preppers are probably going to die straight away as well. But like people living up in the mountains, that kind of thing. Even maybe hunter gatherers that still live in the Amazon or on the islands off India, that kind of thing. Then, obviously, all of our resource production is gone. So people are just going to start starving straight away. Unless you know how to hunt, or maybe you own a farm or something like that, you're probably pretty fucked.
So like, to put it into perspective, if, like, look, we live in Ireland, we live in Dublin. If a bomb was dropped on London, we'd be dead too, right? Like that's how big the blast zone is.
Oh no, well,
If depending on what one.
no, well, like no. So the explosion definitely wouldn't reach us. But depending on how the wind is, the radiation, the like the
But what about the biggest
Tsar bomb?
the
No,
Tsar bomb
it still wouldn't. That now, if you drop the Tsar bomb on London, that would be London just completely destroyed, and like probably the surrounding area. But the heat wave and shockwave wouldn't reach. Like the shockwave would reach us, but it wouldn't be damaging enough. It wouldn't be dissipated by the atmosphere.
I thought if a Tsar bomb was dropped on New York, it would destroy the entire state of New York, and then the heat wave would reach.
I see. It's
Let me check this.
50 megatons. No, I don't think so. It's not quite like an asteroid. You know, it's not like which we'll be talking about later. It's not like a 10,000 ton asteroid hitting us at 40,000 miles an hour. That's just entirely different scale altogether.
Yeah.
But it would definitely, South England would be in dire trouble if a bomb of that size landed on it. It'd probably do damage to us. Like the radiation might reach here, the radioactive dust cloud would, but I don't think like any physical infrastructure would be taken out.
It's crazy.
Yeah. But anyway, like one of the big things would be that our water would be poisoned. Right? There's just radioactive dust in the water. So what do you drink? Because it's all of it. It gets into one water system. It'll spread really quickly.
Do you think humans then would just like evolve into something completely different, or do you think we just die?
It would have to be a pretty rapid
Yeah.
evolution, right? Like you saw what happened with the dinosaurs. That would kind of be a similar thing.
Yeah.
One asteroid, dust cloud, all of that. They just all died, because they just weren't. Now the thing about humans is we're quite adaptable. So I can't really think of any apocalypse scenario unless you're splitting the earth in two somehow, where all humans die. But certainly civilization entirely got, especially in nuclear war, civilization is game over. And like there'll be just rat people kind of clinging to the edges.
What about chain reaction with nuclear bombs? So like if say an intercontinental ballistic missile hits America, but they don't choose New York, they choose like storage facility for.
Oh yeah.
And like one nuclear bomb hits the other nuclear bomb, and so on and so forth. That's a commentary?
I guess it depends how the particular weapon works. I can see that happening though, yeah, because a lot of them they reach critical mass by heat. Yeah. So if you just detonate another bomb beside it, it might well do that. But so a lot of the missiles they use have multiple warheads on them anyway. It's not just one bomb. So they have missile defense weapons now, where they go up and try to shoot down the missile before it lands. So the counter to that is having a missile with multiple warheads. So it splits into 8 different ones, and then just yeah.
I heard the missile defense system as well is really bad. It's like 50% accurate.
Well, think about how difficult it is. You're trying to hit this tiny object going at its escape velocity, so it's going fast enough to break out of Earth's gravity, and you're trying to hit that, and it's like the size of a bus or something.
No. I'm not slagging the physicists, but like that's just hard.
Yeah.
It's just a hard thing to do in general.
So nuclear war, I think, would honestly be the most cruel one. Just
because like it's the retroactive stuff.
Exactly.
You will die. It just depends on when you die.
How you die.
So like one thing we should address is preppers really for everything. We're just going to talk about them now and get them out of the way, right? But people who on the grid have or off the grid, have like generators, have their own water supply, have tens of years of
build a bunker,
live up in
the Appalachian Mountains or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. They're just in some sort of mountain range. They realistically are going to be affected by, even if it's nuclear, say it's nuclear, right?
Yeah.
They'll still be affected because after their food runs out, if they're not taken out immediately, after their water runs out, like, does their water purification take out nuclear particles? I don't know.
Can they afford to build that?
Exactly.
Yeah. Do they know what they're at?
After one generation of food, they're going to be, I look after me and my family. You know what I mean? If they have rifles to take out people who come to get their food, what are they going to do when they have no food?
Yeah. Realistically.
So, like, preppers, all well and good. But
I think that they definitely have a higher likelihood of surviving, but I don't know how much higher. Like, my thing is pretty much anybody who doesn't know how to hunt is dead, or doesn't have the tools required to hunt will probably be dead pretty quick.
But then, even with the nuclear stuff, from what's around you, do you want to hunt it? Do you want a radioactive?
Yeah, well, it's either that or just die of starvation.
Yeah, exactly.
So you kind of have to just take what you can get. But anyway, so even moving away from nuclear, I'm just talking about like these kind of scenarios generally. Just to put it in perspective, imagine what would happen even if like your city wasn't affected at all, but say the production lines were cut off, right? Imagine if you were living in a city, Dublin, London, some relatively big one, and there's no food on the shop shelves for 4 days.
Venezuela.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? Like, what happens? How long does that society hold together?
Yeah, like Ireland, was it 80% of our economy is based on export?
Yeah,
Is it
yeah,
something like that?
our
So, like,
economy is massively huge, yeah.
yeah, so like we import a lot of stuff for us, right? Because our main exports are, well, apart from like technology and pharmaceutical and stuff like that, we eat cows and
Yeah.
and dairy products, grain, like that's it.
That's zinc and lead as well. But that is one thing in Ireland's favour in terms of one of these scenarios is that we export. I think it actually is 80% of our food we export. So, you know, we probably could have.
Yeah.
As long as the environment isn't horrendously damaged, we could.
It's like, even still, we have very kind of. Actually, you're right. We could live with what we have, but countries who have just like their main export is cocoa beans, and that's all
Screwed.
they have. You know what I mean? Like, what are you gonna do? Like, your country's agriculture is cocoa beans. You can't just not have a wide array of crops now. You know what I mean? Like, they're gonna die because they just eat cocoa beans.
Well, what a lot of those countries would have those militaries, big ones, right?
What are they gonna do? Invade another country for seeds? Like, I don't know.
I don't know. Well, I would just imagine a scenario where some European country runs out of food, but Ireland has lots of food.
Yeah.
Let's go over there, have a look, see what they have.
Hey friends, how's it
guys.
going?
Hey guys.
We're just popping in, see the guys. We
Yeah.
want to make sure you're all right. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Bam.
Give potato.
Yeah.
So I guess let's see now.
We talked about
Nukes.
nuclear. I think we should go on to asteroids.
Asteroids,
next, because both big booms, but one is non-nuclear.
In my opinion, asteroids are the most likely one to affect us. I think, and the most likely one we won't be ready for.
Yeah, to even
in the short term, at least.
to talk about, we already talked about the system to destroy a missile. It's a similar system to
Destroy an asteroid.
Yeah. But it's not in place. Like,
No, and also, an asteroid's a pretty big thing. Like, you need quite a lot of explosive force to get rid of it. Now, there's multiple different ways of deflecting asteroids. You could attach some spaceship to it and try and like just slightly alter its course so it misses the Earth or whatever. But you need an early warning system to know this, right? So you have to, in order to attach whatever it is, the solar sail, in order to move it slightly, you need to actually know that it's coming. And we have so little idea of how many asteroids there are out there. Like NASA just and other organizations like it just do not have the investment required to track all of these things. And one could come hurtling through at any time. I mean, you hear it every so often, just say, oh, they only realised this asteroid is coming towards us in a week's time and it's going to miss Earth barely. And it happens quite a bit.
Yeah.
But so it's, just to put it in perspective, it's not as if asteroids haven't, obviously asteroids have hit us before, but it's pretty actually common event. So about 100 years ago, there was this thing called the Tunguska event in Russia. And luckily this asteroid hit, it was a pretty big one. It hit, well, not even pretty big, but like relatively. I think it was about 100 meters across. Something like that. So several thousand tons.
I mean, that's a big
and moving
big thing.
pretty fast.
That's a sprinting track.
Yeah, right. And but also like a circular object made of iron probably or ice or something like that, moving very fast, 40,000 miles an hour. It hit an area of Russia, Tsarist Russia. Now, luckily, at the time, it hit an area of Siberia, and there was just nobody there at all. Oh, well, there might have been a few peasants, but there's no evidence that they were left anyway. But it hit a forest, and it completely destroyed the entire forest. Burnt everything down, and I think the shockwave was felt. It was in the middle of Siberia. This thing hit, and the shockwave like broke windows in Norway, or something along those lines. And they saw like people in Finland could see fire in the sky from it and everything. But this just hit a random part of Russia and completely burnt out an entire forest. If that had hit a city, everyone in the city's dead straight away, and that's a pretty small asteroid compared to a lot of the ones that are out there.
And you shockwaves too.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, it's not even the heat that was destroyed them. The shockwaves would completely annihilate the city.
You think too, so like you think, oh, a meteor just like hits the ground and that's its place in the ground. But if you've ever seen one, there's a huge crater around the meteor, a huge one. And then the meteor's at the center. Yeah. Because it has so much force.
Whatever's left of the meteor.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever is left of the meteor after it breaks up in the atmosphere and stuff like that.
And slams into the ground.
And slams into the ground. But a huge crater around it that's like hundreds of times its own size. So you're talking about something that's 100 meters, maybe it's 20 meters when it hits the ground. Oh my God. It's so big.
Yeah.
Just all around it. Burning. Everything burning like from the heat.
Well, we got a bit of taste of it in Russia there a few years ago when that one asteroid that nobody saw coming flew over that city, and it didn't even explode over the city. It was quite a few kilometers away. It was a small one, probably I think about 10 meters across, and it blew up, shattered every window in that town. Like
Yeah, didn't they? Everybody caught it on their dash cams.
Yeah, because Russia has so many dash cams. Yeah, very interesting footage if anybody wants to go look it up. Just look up asteroid Russia, but yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, you'll get lots of stuff.
Yeah, but it'll
Video
probably be one of the first ones. But yeah, so clearly this is something that can happen. Something that I would assert will happen. Probably within the next 200 years.
Ask the dinosaurs, they'll tell you.
Yeah, they'll tell you about it. And we just have absolutely no defense mechanism at all in any country, anywhere.
But how do we? Like, you know, like, if someone's like, okay, America's like, no, we're going to turn all our military spending and we're going to focus it on asteroids.
Well, I wouldn't even...
Why is that the right one to choose for apocalypse scenario, to put the weapons in? Like,
it's such a common one, you know? And it's also, like, okay, so you were talking about Yellowstone earlier. What are you going to do about that?
build a dome over
Build
Yellowstone.
a dome,
That's my solution.
But an asteroid one is, the thing with asteroids is we actually have the technology to deal with them now. So you get the early warnings, you literally just put more cameras and stuff and detectors up there to check all of them and to track all of them. Then, depending on the size of the thing, you could just use a bomb to blow it up. You could attach several rockets to it to deflect its course. Might even be able to just mine it. You know, if it's small enough, just take it apart.
Let's just get off Earth, then we've twice as much chance of surviving, right? If we're on Mars and Earth, we've twice as much chance of surviving.
It's also that if you break it up enough, it might just burn up in the atmosphere. Whereas one big lump might survive. If you break it up enough, it might just burn up in the atmosphere.
I like the idea of deflecting them. I think that I read something about even lasers being used to deflect them, you know, slowly over time.
Yeah, well, even sunlight.
Sunlight, yeah.
So if you paint one side of the asteroid white, you literally just use paint. It can deflect. If you get it early enough, it can deflect its course. So the sun, literally the rays from the sun will just push it enough.
It's playing with fire though as well.
That one really is a...
Yeah, it could just come back round or something, you know what I mean? As well. You've just completely changed the nature of this asteroid. What I was about to,
I'm pretty sure there's a Futurama episode on that.
Really?
Yeah. But where it's going to come back 100 years later. But yeah, you would have to be careful of that you can track to make sure it flies into the sun or something.
Do you paint both sides white next time it comes around? Like...
I'd just like to put into perspective how big these things can be. I think it's about 10 years ago now. Either a comet or an asteroid hit Jupiter, right? And the explosion was the size of Earth.
Oh my god.
Right? Like, it wasn't, like, the asteroid wasn't the size of Earth, but the explosion pretty much was. And it completely, Jupiter is a huge planet. It's almost a star. It's so big. But but it completely changed Jupiter's climate for, ages, or the specific part of Jupiter. And Jupiter's a gas planet, so it didn't even have anything solid to hit into. It just hit into the gas and exploded. And the explosion was just ginormous. So something like that hit us. Game over. Absolutely game over.
How big was it? Do you know? If the explosion was the size of Earth.
Too big. Way too big.
That could have been so easily us though. But well, to be fair, right, we're quite close to the center of our little galaxy. So like solar system. No, damn it.
Physicist, allegedly.
No, but we are. So Jupiter is further out. It's more likely going to be in contact with asteroids.
Also, further out you has a bigger gravity well as well, so it's going to attract more of them.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good point. But you never know. Asteroids could be on the way to the sun's gravity
and just get sucked up by us.
Accidentally.
Yeah. Well, you see how pockmarked the moon is. You know, without an atmosphere. That's because no asteroids burn. There's no atmosphere for it to burn up. So when you see all those craters on the moon, that's all asteroids hitting it. They're just not a natural thing. That's rocks just smashing into it. And it's just because it doesn't have an atmosphere. But so the atmosphere only burns away ones that are small enough. You get one big enough, it'll hit.
Yeah, that's what we got to do. We got to use the moon as some sort of shield.
Pretty sure we are doing that.
Are we? Yeah. The moon was actually, wasn't it? The Earth The Earth was two planets, and they both collided.
Yeah,
then they formed together, and the moon was just an excess bit of
there was a planet roughly the size of Mars that just smashed into Earth, and that's what Earth actually is. Just reformed. Yeah, and the moon is just a little chunk.
Yeah, so that's literally why. If you've ever wondered why planets are round, apart from gravity pulling everything into the center, it's because of asteroids just clipping away, slowly making it round. Yeah,
it's also the fact that they're just the lowest energy. You know, it's the lowest energy shape, as you were saying with gravity. So I guess it's not something people would think about often. It's not even.
Well, that's why the moon is obviously we've got like the atmosphere, and we have like the huge core and stuff like that. But the moon doesn't.
No.
It's just being clipped away. So like if a meteor hit like half the side of the moon, it I don't know, it could be a hemisphere now next, two hemispheres. But that hemisphere isn't going to exist too long in space. It's going to be broken down to its sphere. It's like rocks on the seashore. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
The
yeah,
abrasions
yeah,
can
yeah.
make
Yeah,
it
they just
away,
get yeah. Good point. Very good analogy.
Thanks,
There you go,
Piers.
Seamus. There you go,
Aw,
Seamus.
no, thank you.
Well, the next apocalypse scenario would be solar flares.
Yeah,
I
you want to talk
think.
about solar flares?
Yeah, and actually, again forgot to include in the when we were talking about nuclear. One thing that nuclear would do that a solar flare would also do is release an electromagnetic pulse that would just take out whatever electronics are on the ground there that aren't protected against that. So another reason why nuclear weapons would be horrendous. But so the big thing with solar flares is that they could take down our power grid of any country pretty much. There's no country that's really protected against solar flares. And solar flares are quite a common event. The sun puts them out a lot. It's just that hasn't happened to have been a big one that was launched in our direction of late.
But yeah, even if it doesn't like spread down onto Earth, like if the fire from the sun just doesn't scorch Earth, yeah, our electronics would just be bust and ruin society.
This actually happened in the 1800s in Northern America. A solar flare hit, and obviously so their electronics were more primitive, so they probably were.
They had Morse code and stuff like that. Which I think was
they had like Morse code lines, and they might have even had very basic telephone lines. I forget which year it was in, but anyway, like the solar flare was so powerful that all burst into flames, all went down. It just completely destroyed all the infrastructure. I'm pretty sure it's mostly in Canada, or Alaska. And that was very minor back then because they still weren't very reliant on electricity at all. But if something like that happened today and everybody's electricity just stopped working suddenly, huge trouble.
Like we rely too much on it. Our infrastructure will be down simply because they can't place orders anymore because everything's through digital means.
The internet's gone. First of all, so communication's gone. Telephones are gone. Any kind of long distance communication is wiped out straight away.
How many vegetables should we bring into Super Value in the middle of town? I don't know. Why? Well, usually, like, before, we just bring them in. If we sold them, we sold them. No, we can't do that. Everything's ordered. We have a ship time, but no one knows what that is anymore.
A lot of cars won't work. A lot of because
think about that.
because any of the electronics in them are just fried. Your computers are gone.
All cars, well, except the old ones, really.
Yeah, except the old ones.
Wow.
Yeah. But even spark plugs might just get fried by it. So you might have to find a spark plug that wasn't affected by it somehow.
Yeah.
There's everything. Yeah, so your water filtration systems, any kind of thing that is your power plants, not only are they shut down, but all of the systems that run them are shut down as well. All the electronics. Imagine a nuclear power plant gets hit by a solar flare. That's just going straight into meltdown. Immediately into meltdown.
Even the processing for vegetables.
Yeah.
Their food.
Power plant, your coal-fired power plant or whatever, that's all going to shut down. Everything gone. So, just
and we didn't mention as well if there was for nuclear this would happen too, right?
Yeah. This would happen for nuclear as well.
We've completely forgot about that. So. Forget about the nuclear winter or whatever like that. A huge nuclear blast would.
Yeah, your cars are just going to stop working. Like if you're anywhere near a nuclear explosion, your car is just going to stop working. You can't get away from it because the electronics are fried in it.
Yeah, ridiculous.
But anyway, so for a solar flare, that's it. And so, the one good thing about the solar flare, I would say, is that just by the nature of the thing,
it looks pretty.
Yeah, it does look pretty. You get lots of northern lights and stuff. But if it's unless it's a particularly large one, it'll probably only affect a specific part of the Earth, or even like one half of the Earth, say, because it might not be falling on us long enough for the Earth to turn to receive all of it. So you might be able to get help from other countries, that kind of thing. They might be not totally unaffected, but like largely unaffected. And there are some, I do know that there are some militaries, I have to imagine the American one, that have equipment that is hardened against, now they haven't hardened their grid or anything, but just against electromagnetic pulses, their vehicles might still work. They might have them in bunkers so that they won't be affected by it. They're deep down enough in the earth or whatever. If there's a particularly big solar flare though, it could induce lots of increased radiation levels on the earth wherever it hits as well.
And just mess with our the natural Earth's magnetic fields.
Yeah, the climate, the temperature might go up for sure. It might flay away the magnetic fields for a while, so everybody might be just getting even like not only radiation from that solar flare, but for the next few weeks or months or even years afterwards, the electromagnetic field might have a hole in it, so that there might be more radiation pouring down from the sun.
Jesus.
Ozone layer might have just been flayed away for a few months there.
Yeah, do you remember that thing, global warming, taking away the ozone layers?
Might happen again.
Yeah, the sun would just flake through that, no problem at all. That's another one actually. Now, global warming, which is kind of, I suppose, less less Hollywood glossy kind of one. Like, but global warming is definitely a way that the Earth could end, but far more subtly.
I also think it's the easiest one to deal with potentially.
Yeah, well, it's the one we have most control over because
yeah.
we have induced it. You know.
It's oh, sorry, but it's also that it takes time.
Yeah.
So, even if we don't prevent it entirely, say just the sea levels just start rising, ice caps melting, you do have a matter of years to start moving your infrastructure away from the coast to kind of moving populations to colder climates. I'm not saying it won't be terrible. It will be really rough, but not just instant destruction of civilization, there's more potential for surviving global warming.
I think it's one of the worst ones though as well because it's just so preventable. Like, and
yeah.
If we made a conscious effort, like, if global governments around the world decided to, we're gonna do a collective effort here now, or we're gonna just flick to this sort of power energy source, so on and so forth, we could actually really change it. But we've almost gone down a slippery slope now where we can't come back. I don't know. We definitely can come back, you know what I mean? But it is one of the ones that's kind of harder again because how do you deal with it? Because you're just one generation. We only kind of found out about it realistically generation, 2 generations ago. And even today, there's still people who deny it, in positions of high power. Like,
But and there's also just the fact that fossil fuels are so useful. And they're so...
It just makes sense. Like, for humans, like, what do we do? Oh, we use what's around us to burn.
They're so easy to use as well, and you can't just... this is the problem I have with the global warming arguments. Obviously, we have to prevent it, and obviously it is happening. But it's not just as easy as snapping your fingers and be like, oh, renewable energies now.
Yeah.
Right? Even if the government suddenly just poured massive investment into renewable energies, all governments and loads of corporations started building the stuff. Our entire civilization has been run off oil for the last 100 years plus. It's all embedded. It's basically like if you think of Earth or like humanity as like one body, it's basically like the oil is the blood and the pipelines are the veins and arteries, pretty much.
Ooh.
Yeah, right. But that's a very good way of thinking about it because if you just like stop oil production, you're just tearing out all the veins and arteries. The thing just dies immediately. It'll take a long time. Even if we start right now, it'll take quite a while before we siphon ourselves off of it.
Absolutely. Especially
Especially in developing countries because fossil fuels are just so easy to set up. You don't require any complex infrastructure to build solar panels, which are pretty advanced materials, pretty rare materials. Not even rare, but the production processes are hard. Whereas you just build an engine out of steel and then
that's a great point as well, though, because even in developing countries, that's going to be the hardest ones to stop. You think, developing countries don't affect global warming in the least possible way. It's America and stuff like that really do it. Right. No, China and India are increasing their meat consumption like a lot. Like, I think there were 3 times every year they're increasing their meat consumption, which is a huge factor for global warming. Mm-hmm. People don't consider it, like, especially cows are the worst ones. They release methane just by living. But the amount of water and production that goes into stuff like that, you can't tell someone in a developing country not to eat meat when their family hasn't had meat for generations and they finally become rich enough because the country has got better to eat meat.
Well, actually, it makes them healthier as well, so it just makes sense.
Exactly, but you can't do that because you're like, no, the world is dying. You're like, well, I'll die, Like,
My entire population will die, or some significant percentage of them will.
That's why it was so hard, like, to tell China. It's like China built 1 coal power plant a week. 1 coal power plant a week. I don't even know how many Ireland has, probably 5 or something like that. They build 1 a week. They have a lot of renewable energy. To be fair to them, like
non-nuclear plants.
Was
as well.
it the Three Gorges Dam?
Yeah, that's
which is
20%.
That has enough hydroelectric power to power France. Which is crazy, but you can't stop a developing country from developing.
Yeah, and China's actually pretty well on it. Like, they're putting massive investment into nuclear and stuff. But yeah, places like India and Africa especially, like the population in Africa is exploding, and they need energy to. You can't just tell them, oh,
just go over to Democratic Republic of Congo and be like, no, you can't get energy from doing this. You have to independently come up with the technology for solar panels first. Look at you. You've done all the steps, America. You've been there. You've done this, that, and the other, and now you've been like, okay. Now I'm gonna have to do this, but so it is hard. It's a really hard one to control. I think that's why it's one of the most. I think that's why it's one of the most realistic ones that's going to happen.
Yeah,
Because
it also like it. I guess it's part of global warming, but one very interesting end of the world scenario is just environmental collapse. So whatever that might mean, it might mean plants just start dying suddenly.
Yeah.
Or
like in Interstellar when the crops just
yeah,
don't
exactly.
anymore.
Something along those lines. So some disease that starts wiping out plants, or maybe just the climate changes, and suddenly it's very hard to have arable land.
Yeah.
Animals start dying off. There's some kind of swine flu type thing that just starts killing off loads of livestock.
That's another good one which I was going to go into next. The pandemic.
Pandemic, yeah.
Some disease
Yeah.
crosses over from the species barrier, say, and now we can't deal with it. Half the world's population dies. What do we do?
I feel like that's the scariest one because of how fast it would be.
Oh, it'd be so quick.
Yeah.
It'd be so quick. Look,
And it wouldn't be like a nuclear war where you don't even have time to consider it. It's just it would happen over a matter of weeks. So you do have time to consider it, but it's just
yeah, and I think it's probably going to be airborne virus.
Yeah.
Say like something like AIDS level, like where it comes on, we haven't got the technology to get rid of it. Not like you can protect yourself from it. Some constantly changing virus.
Well, it'd be like the
like
zombie
the flu.
apocalypse movies without the zombies, and it would all be transferred through airplanes and stuff. And we're such an interconnected world that there's no way it would stay in one country. It'd be everywhere immediately these days.
Absolutely. Yeah, it would be airplanes straight away,
Yeah.
and then the world even if half the world's population died, we'd just be irreparably done.
Yeah.
Who do you choose to farm? Who do you choose to keep technology? There'd have to be some push for the governments to actually.
Well, you have to regress to some kind of massively authoritarian type regime
Absolutely.
in order to enforce everything, or just like let it all fall apart.
Even so, like we think that's assuming that there's people that would just be immune to it. Like if it takes out the scientists who are trying to come up with the cure for it immediately,
Gone.
then they're gone.
Yeah, that's
And
it.
they're the ones that are going to be exposed to it, right? Yeah, that's very scary.
It's very possible as well, because antibiotics, especially, are getting less and less effective.
Ooh.
Yeah, because those types of sicknesses are becoming immune, especially in China, because of the livestock industry. They're becoming immune to antibiotics. So you could have just some flesh-eating virus that just rips through, or flesh-eating disease that just rips through countries, just killing off people like the Black Plague.
It'd be ridiculous. Yeah. Well, okay. What about alien apocalypse?
Oh yeah, well,
we're getting to these ones now. And like, obviously, we're not going to talk about everything because there's so many scenarios, but we might as well just finish off.
I think this is one that the movies definitely get wrong. If the aliens decide we're dead, we're dead. That's it. Like if they have enough technological level to get to our solar system with like faster than light travel or something along those lines, and they decide they don't want us here anymore, that's game over.
It'd be like in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, whereas if no one's read it, it's the aliens come and they're like, oh, why aren't you gone yet? Like, oh, what do you mean? Why aren't we gone? This is our planet. Like, oh yeah, well, we put it in this the library, which is like just a couple of light years that way. And the humans are like, well, we haven't even traveled that far, and they're like, oh, well, we told you. I'm like, oh yeah, well, you 15 seconds to leave then. No, so they just steamroll it, like they use a sieve.
Build a highway through.
Yeah, because they wanted to make a little highway. Nuts, like, and that's exactly how I think it happens.
Yeah, well, it would be like using a flamethrower on an anthill, right? It would just be, you wouldn't even be able to conceptualize what kind of technology they're using to get rid of it.
There wouldn't be any land-based warfare where they'd come down and be like, oh, we're
drop a
gonna shoot
disease
you
on
now.
top of us.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it. Drop nanobots on us. Some nanorobotic plague and just kills us all immediately.
But I just don't think they'd be concerned with us. I don't think, like, if aliens, like, discovered us, they're, like, either one of two things, like, if they discover us through like long range, then we might be able to communicate as peers because they haven't exactly mastered space travel yet.
Also, that communication would take so long.
I know,
yeah.
I know. But if they did, then but if they actually were just on top of us in spaceships right there, why would they be? Why would they want to create dialogue? Like it's like, well, look at these dirt humans. It's like us trying to talk. It's like us trying to talk to cows and be like,
yeah.
How do you view the world? Is grass like what is that to you? Is that God? I'm not sure. Like imagine them coming down to us like, oh, what the fuck? Like let's just get rid of these now or ignore them. Like pretty much. Let's farm them or ignore them.
Yeah. Alien civilizations. Well, that's if there's any aliens out there. Or civilizations out there. Surely there should be evidence of them by now, right?
Well, that's the Fermi paradox.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Yeah. So like it could be that life is quite common, but that civilization isn't. And why is that? Hard to say.
No one knows.
Because even if they only existed 10,000 years before us, I know that we're getting a bit off topic here, but just imagine if aliens only existed 10,000 years before us. That means they have 10,000 years ahead of us. Say if their civilization emerged 10,000 years before us.
Yeah.
They have 10,000 years ahead of us. Think about how many advances we've made in the last 100 years to invent faster than light travel, spread around the galaxy, or even if faster than light travel is even possible. But even just at sublight speed, spread around the galaxy, there would surely be some evidence of them at this stage, unless they're just very far away from us.
Yeah.
And then the galaxy's so old, you would think maybe 1 million years ago some civilization emerged, maybe 2 million, maybe 100,000. Weird to think.
Dead,
I wonder why they aren't there.
They could just, but I think
they might just have no interest.
Yeah, exactly. Or they haven't. Like the galaxy is so big that they.
Yeah, or they've converted themselves into some digital form of life.
Yeah.
So they're just living in a computer around a sun or around a black hole.
Yeah,
using that for siphoning energy off there. Something along those lines.
I actually think it's worth mentioning, if we manage to stave off all of these apocalyptic scenarios, and all the science fiction ones as well, like subterranean people and
the crabmen, the sea people emerge.
Oh yeah, exactly. That's actually a weird one. Do you want to talk about that just for a second? Sorry.
Yeah. Well, so speaking of apocalypses, the really interesting tidbit from history. There's this thing called the Bronze Age collapse, which happened. I forget exactly when it was, but it was. I think it's the Bronze Age collapse. It was towards the end of the Bronze Age, as you might imagine. So a lot of human civilization at that point existed in the Middle East and around the kind of Eastern Mediterranean. So there was like proto-Greek city-states, kind of
Egyptians.
The Egyptians, the Akkadians, the Sumerians. I don't think it was exactly them, but
ancient civilizations
that existed in the Near East. So it was way before Rome, way before any Arabic empires, way before any kind of the conventional history that we'd be well aware of. It's the period before that. But a lot of these civilizations all collapsed around the same time.
Very advanced civilizations.
They were metalworking civilizations. They had advanced in terms of history. So they had cities that weren't just mud huts. They had towns of like several thousand. Yeah, law. Yeah, they knew how
fancy things like
they knew how to read and write and had glyphs and stuff, but and stoneworking. But a lot of them collapsed, and they all completely independently of each other. There's archaeological evidence that they collapsed. We know that they did. And so archaeologists and scientists can't figure out, was there some kind of climactic event? But all of these civilizations, independently of each other, reported that the reason they collapsed was that sea people emerged from the Mediterranean and destroyed civilization.
What is
That's
that?
it. Like, what does that mean?
What is it?
Sea people just emerged and started ransacking the place.
It's aliens, man.
There's some theories on it that was some civilization living on like Crete or Rhodes or something like that, or what's the other, Cyprus. But it's just, nobody knows. Just sea people emerged from the depths of the Mediterranean.
Boats,
just destroyed everything.
They wouldn't call them sea people when they had boats. That's just ridiculous. It's just.
And it was like they weren't even there to try to conquer everything. They just pillaged, burned, and just then disappeared. And that was just recorded in the annals. And then,
Well, they went back to the sea, man. They had to.
The crab people just slithered back in. Cthulhu unleashed his hordes upon the world. Fishmen just emerged.
It's understandable,
Much, yeah. But there you go.
Civilizations got too cocky for themselves.
If you're getting anything from this episode, go look up the Bronze Age collapse. It's pretty cool. Weird part of history.
But as I was saying, so to go back to, if we stave off all of these, apocalyptic scenarios, at the end of the day, the sun will eventually stop becoming hot enough for us, and Earth will become too cold. We're going to have to leave anyway. Like
2 billion years time.
2 billion years time. But
actually, it'll get too hot for us first. Become a red giant.
Fry
us. Then shed its layers and become a white dwarf.
So we will have to move off, which brings me back to my past point about moving. If humans venture out through the galaxy and spread humanity all around, then it's gonna be impossible to bring it down unless there's some galactic event.
Yeah, so once we become a multiplanetary species, and I mean that truly, as in people on Mars can entirely survive, or Venus, say, could entirely survive without any support from Earth, then the only kind of thing that can wipe out civilization is either some weird war that would be very hard to conduct through space because it's so big, or a black hole passes through the solar system. That's pretty much it. Or another star just randomly comes through the solar system, which I think we'd see coming. But once we get multisolar, multiple different solar systems.
You can't.
There's no one single event that could possibly take us out. Nothing.
Exactly. Maybe multi-events, but yeah.
Yeah, but even a war would be so hard to conduct on that kind of scale.
I know.
That, you know.
Or maybe for us to perceive right now.
Yeah. It's hard to.
Maybe when they can manipulate gravity and they just
Rip
crash.
open wormholes, stuff like that. Just destroy the Higgs field by accident.
Oh no!
Reality just collapses. But
the universe will eventually get a thermal death anyway, and we'll just ripped apart.
So we will eventually die several trillion years down the line. But you know, I guess that's why people like Elon Musk are so adamant about making Earth or human life multiplanetary, because it's the ultimate survival strategy.
Why are people so afraid of death by apocalypse though? That's my thing, right? Because people are afraid of death just in general, right? You know, you can get cancer, you can get just your lung fail or something like that. You know, you get hit by a car. People aren't worried about that, but when you think about the apocalypse, they really are. I think it's because
the species dies.
It's lost time, yeah.
Yeah, it's the species dies, and obviously it's everybody will have different opinions on why that's a bad thing. But for me, it's like we know of no other civilization in the universe at the moment, right? So as far it's certainly possible that there are civilizations out there, but as far as we know, we're like the only spark of knowledge and intelligence in the universe. It would just be sad to see that die. You know, the one creative force in the universe that we know of just gets scrubbed out by some unthinking event.
It's kind of very egotistical as well.
It is, yeah. But
you have to be, because it's all we know. You'll be like a super hippie about it and be like, yeah.
I think survival is entirely egotistical, isn't it? So.
It has to be, yeah. I think that's a nice place to wrap that up there. And I'd say tune in next time. Hope you enjoyed that. Tune in next time for the
follow-up.
How to survive after post-apocalypse.
An attempt to rebuild, if it's even possible.
From two people who have some idea what they're talking about.
Very vague idea of what we're talking about here.
Alright, listen, at the end of the day, it's night.
If you're sick, you won't be well.
Talk to you now.